Developing and implementing a gender equality strategy and plan is the must-have first step in addressing gender equality in your organisation. Gender equality is an important business issue. The business case is clear. Workplace gender equality is associated with increased organisational performance and improved ability to attract talent and retain employees, and of course enhanced organisational reputation. So, just like any other business issue, you need a strategic and systematic approach to gender equality to effect real, meaningful and beneficial change. Recently, the Workplace Gender Equality Agency has updated its Gender Equality Strategy Toolkit. This toolkit provides a guide for organisations on developing a gender equality strategy for their business. This toolkit can be used by you as a comprehensive guide. It will provide you with a picture of the status of gender equality in your workplace. It can help you develop a tailored gender equality strategy and plan for your organisation, enabling you to establish links with your broader business strategies and objectives.
Implementing a gender equality strategy in our organisation was critically important for our future direction. We are facing, as are all businesses, incredible competitive, disruptive forces, the rise of technology, artificial intelligence, new market entrants, globalisation, demographic shifts, and all of those things mean that our ability as an organisation to adapt and be agile and innovative becomes really important. Underpinning our ability to do that has to be, in my view, regarding diversity as a strategic capability, diversity in all its forms. So that meant for us at MinterEllison thinking about how we create diversity as a strategic capability, and that meant setting for ourselves pretty hard targets around what diversity needed to look like. So we've set ourselves gender diversity targets that by 2025 we need to hit gender equality in all of our leadership across the entire partnership. So minimum 40% female partners, minimum 40% male partners, and have that metric applied right across the business, and are now working on, I guess, the tactics to make sure that we hit those targets. So we're treating it like any other business imperative. Since we started down the path of really focusing on diversity and gender diversity as a strategic capability, we've really noticed the way in which the rest of the business has just risen up around the challenge of meeting those targets. It was really surprising to me actually that there was no internal pushback on this as a concept. As soon as we positioned gender diversity as a strategic capability, everybody in the firm, the board, the executive leadership team, the next layer of leadership, all just stepped up and said, right, what do we need to do now to hit these metrics that we've set? Because they're thinking about the issue, not so much in an equity or fairness mindset, but actually from a business strategic imperative mindset. So my advice to any organisation thinking about building a gender equality strategy is starting with the business imperative around this. I think it's really important to establish within your organisation and at board and at leadership level, it's got to be owned by board and leadership, and board and leadership really need to establish this as a critical business imperative. And I think the incredible disruption that organisations are facing at the moment, and their ability to rise up and meet that disruption and the challenges of a rapidly changing market mean that a company's ability to really innovate and be agile has to be a central capability. You can't do that well when everybody thinks the same, looks and behaves and thinks the same. So diversity as a core competency of an organisation in order to innovate and thrive in a very disrupted marketplace is going to be critical, and that means gender equality has to be positioned as a strategic imperative. Our ability to deliver on our gender equality strategy is really underpinned by a concept of accountability, and that's accountability that rests with me. So I am being held accountable by our board for achieving our gender equality targets. And equally, I'm holding our executive leadership team accountable for, in their parts of the business, achieving those targets. And I think driving that accountability right through the organisation is a really critical foundation if you're going to get there.
We're an organisation built on a rich history of women achieving and battling the odds, and I think it's really only fitting that as an organisation built by women to serve predominantly women and then others, that we have a gender equity strategy. We also work in the health field where we know about 85% of our staff are women, so if we are going to be serving people and also having a workforce predominantly from women, we had to have a gender equity strategy. We all have to take a leadership in equality and inclusion, and whilst gender equality is one part of it, I think one of the benefits I think we've seen in having a gender equality strategy is that we actually have more of a focus on true inclusion and equity. And whilst it's a byproduct, it actually lets us look at all people as being in a position of equality and how we can actually both serve those people but employ those people and represent them well. Being an organisation owned by women with 180 years of history of women leading, our board were behind it, the executive were behind it, our chief of HR was behind it. So the issue of gender equity was never one I think of any challenge. I think without the top leadership support, these strategies don't flow through the organisation. Unless you have that 100% commitment, I would worry that they will flounder. We have had that commitment. Our board is selected with women in mind. We make sure that we have at least 50% on there. We have a very affirmative statement in women being represented across all levels of executive, and I myself chair the Equity and Inclusion Committee. So one of the challenges, not so much a challenge but a byproduct of this, was I think we went into this exercise very much on a gender equity thought about a predominantly women workforce. And what came up through those discussions was that men felt also as a minority in many cases, where they were, they're 15% of our workforce, and in some cases 1 and 2%. And they felt where were their needs being represented. So I think gender equity, whilst we look at pay parity and whilst we look at a range of issues, we need to also think that we are looking at equity for all. And gender equity for some of our males is a big issue. So we have moved to things like paid parental leave for either parent, primary caregiver or not primary caregiver, at the time of applying for leave. So making those sort of real policy decisions that also say men are equally welcome here and we need to actually attract them to feel comfortable in the workplace.
Ensuring all your employees have equal opportunity and choice in your workplace is not just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. So act today. Download a copy of the Gender Equality Strategy Toolkit and develop a sound strategy and plan for your workplace. In doing so, you'll quickly discover the value of measuring and addressing issues of gender imbalance in your organisation.